When I first heard this guitar pedal, I felt like I was struck by lightning. I knew this sound, I'd heard this before, and then I realized this was a sound that had mystified me ever since I heard this Queen album for the first time when I was 12. And now I had a pedal that could perfectly replicate it. How? Why? This video will demystify how Brian May crafted the most insane guitar tone ever, and how the Earthquaker device's Rainbow Machine perfectly recreates it. Before we get into the Tone Lab, I want to say a huge thank you to Sweetwater Sound for supporting this video. They helped me get my hands on the crazy guitar pedal that is the subject of today's video, and Sweetwater.com is genuinely one of my favorite places to buy gear. Every order puts you in touch with a personal rep who's able to answer any questions or concerns you have about the shipping experience and the gear itself. If you want to get your hands on the Earthquaker device's Rainbow Machine, the link is down below. I have never seen definitive documentation of Brian May's exact tone in the bridge of this song, but everywhere I looked, I kept seeing two pieces of equipment come up: the H910 Eventide Harmonizer and the Electro-Harmonics Frequency Analyzer. Some people seem to claim that he used the Eventide Harmonizer in the studio and the EHX Frequency Analyzer live, but to my ear, the essence of the effect is essentially the same in both contexts. Whether Brian May used the H910 alone, used the frequency analyzer with a different delay module, or used both effects in series, these pieces of gear used together end up creating the same underlying phenomenon. Pitch shifting inside a feedback loop creates cascading aliasing, which creates that alien metallic quality and edge of oscillation instability. In guitar pedal terms, you're essentially running a pitch shifter into a delay, which is kind of just doing what a ring modulator does on crazy pills. So let's see how the Earthquaker device's Rainbow Machine fits into all of this. With the primary and secondary knobs turned all the way to 0, I'm only hearing my fundamental guitar signal. In other words, my dry guitar signal and the original note or notes I'm playing. As soon as I bring the primary voice in, you'll notice that my guitar sounds thicker. Now we're hearing my fundamental signal blended with the primary voice. With the pitch knob set to noon, the primary voice is just a double of my fundamental signal. As I move the pitch knob around, you'll hear that primary voice diverge in pitch until I bring it back to noon. As I bring the tracking knob down, I increase the time delay between the fundamental signal and the primary voice. Now it's basically a digital delay pedal where the repeated signal is an exact replication of the original fundamental signal. If I detune the primary voice slightly, it's like an analog delay where the repeats are imperfect, out-of-tune replications of the fundamental signal. And the secondary control adds an additional chorus voice for modulated, triple-tracked tones. Lastly, we can change the tonal texture by bringing up the tone knob, which will bring more of a high-end shimmer into the mix. These are all features you'd be able to find or approximate on the original H910 Eventide Harmonizer that Brian May used. Before we turn on magic mode on the Rainbow Machine and send the signal into the chaos dimension, I want to show you some extremely cool sounds I was able to get from the features we just went over on this pedal. there's a missing ingredient that made Brian May's tone the crazy psychedelic cascade that it was. Whether he did this final step by creating a self-oscillating feedback loop on the Eventide harmonizer, or used a ring modulator like the EHX frequency analyzer, the effect is the same, and coincidentally also found in magic mode on the Rainbow Machine. What we need are atonal pitch harmonics. Every time you play any note, this is referred to as the fundamental frequency. On top of every fundamental frequency exists a spectrum of harmonics that naturally occur, which are mathematically related to the fundamental frequency. Notice how this EQ analyzer doesn't just register one single pitch, but also shows the secret hidden harmonics that sit on top. You may have heard this referred to as the overtone series. In a normal context, these harmonics are in tune with each other and are made up of nice and friendly sounding intervals like octaves, fifths, and thirds. When you use an effect such as a ring modulator, instead of generating harmonics that are related to your fundamental frequency, it works by multiplying your guitar signal against an internal carrier tone. The resulting frequencies are the mathematical sum and difference of your note and that carrier tone. They are completely unrelated to the note you played, landing in the microtonal spaces between the notes you would recognize from the 12-tone musical system. The frequencies are microtonal and dissonant, and this is what gives ring modulation its distinct, metallic, alien-like tone. The Eventide harmonizer doesn't have a dedicated ring modulation effect built in, but it does have some other effects that can achieve the same outcome through a different process. Magic mode on the Rainbow Machine also does this. The magic mode architecture is a little mysterious, but in essence, the DSP pitch warping engine feeds the primary and secondary voices back on themselves. With the magic knob turned all the way up, this creates self-oscillating frequencies that keep escalating in pitch and intensity, pushed to the edge of the pedal's threshold. So the question is, where do the atonal frequencies come from? With magic mode, those atonal frequencies emerge from the feedback loop itself. Each time the pitch-shifted primary and secondary voices feed back into the DSP, they get repitched again. But because the DSP is designed to be slightly imperfect, each pass-through introduces small errors and aliasing artifacts. In essence, these digital glitches are the result of a processor that intentionally can't quite keep up and accurately generate the frequencies it's being asked to generate. Those glitches produce frequencies that fall outside of the regular 12-tone musical system, just like the ring modulation does. So while ring modulation creates atonal frequencies intentionally through signal multiplication, the Rainbow Machine creates them through accumulated digital errors in a feedback loop. It's a different mechanism with a similar sonic result. The self-oscillation happens when the feedback loop gains enough energy that it sustains and amplifies itself indefinitely, which pushes those aliasing artifacts to their most extreme and chaotic expression. The Eventide harmonizer could do this exact same thing with its regeneration and feedback control, which would feed a pitch-shifted signal back into itself repeatedly and create the same aliasing artifacts due to the fact that the H910's early RAM buffer technology simply was not designed to handle heavily recirculated self-oscillating signals. It was the 70s after all. Under that stress, the hardware starts to freak out in unpredictable ways, producing aliasing and digital artifacts that are strikingly similar to what Magic Mode does on the Rainbow Machine. The difference is that the H910 produces these artifacts accidentally as a byproduct of its hardware being pushed beyond its threshold. The Rainbow Machine produces these deliberately through a DSP engine that was specifically designed to be slightly imperfect. Either way, this was the magical chaos that made Brian May's crazy guitar tone come to life. So all of the vintage gear we discussed and this modern $230 Rainbow Machine all stumbled onto the same phenomenon. Pitch shifting inside a feedback loop pushed to its breaking point creates beautiful chaos.
Get down!
Alright, so I think Brian May is an absolute genius, and I have been inspired endlessly by him as a guitarist, his mad scientist approach to tone, and the fact that he has a doctorate of astrophysics. Like what? This is the coolest guy ever. He is my absolute hero. I hope you had fun, because I know I did. Check out the link down below if you want to get a rainbow machine of your own, and if you want to support the channel, feel free to also join my Patreon and become a member of the alien community. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please refrain from subscribing. I'm trying to become the least subscribed person on YouTube. Thanks, bye!